What up, cappers, gamblers, punters, hustlers, low baggers? Hockey is back, baby. The NHL returns opening night, January 13th, 2021. Let's attack. We're only going to be using licensed legal lines. And myself, I make these bets with Bet365. So I'll be giving you out the lines that I will be betting. And as always, honesty, transparency through the season. 3 years, I've done this publicly in front of you guys. The first 2 years were excellent. Last year, we ended up 1.5 units, which was very disappointing, but it is what it is. And it made me want to succeed that much more after failing to do so. So 3 years ago, we hit a high water mark of plus 43 units. Last year, or 2 years ago, that is, we hit the high water mark at plus 30.8 units at the very last day of the regular season. We need to hit 50 units. We need to hit plus 50 units. That will be my goal. Once we get to 50, we go for a hundo. Let's attack 5 gorgeous games on opening night. We start with Pittsburgh at Philadelphia. Philadelphia opened up at Bet365 as minus 130 favorites. That's gone down to minus 115. This total has moved from under 6 at minus 120 to under 6 at minus 115. So slightly juiced to the under 6. Let's go. Wells Fargo Center, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I am on the Philadelphia Flyers on the minus 1 line. That's plus 151. Those of you who don't have books that give you the minus 1 line, like Bet365, you make it yourself. I'm doing that with a money line at minus 115 and a puck line minus 1.5 at plus 225. The Battle of Pennsylvania is one of the best rivalries, if not the best rivalry in the NHL. The Penguins, 2 years ago, were swept by the Islanders in the first round, 4-0. We thought changes were going to be made. Jim Rutherford was going to do something to fix this. He did nothing. Look, I like Sullivan as a head coach. I could understand why he didn't fire him, but I thought changes needed to be made to the roster because the Penguins were put in a situation much like the Oilers, where you have these 2 very highly priced, talented players in Crosby and Malkin, and it makes it very difficult to fill out the rest of the team. And Rutherford's done a shit job at filling out the rest of the team behind these 2 guys. So what happened when Rutherford stuck by Sullivan and stuck by the roster? They started out last year with a very strong regular season. They handled injuries with aplomb. They end up 40 wins, 23 losses, and 6 overtime losses. They're 4 points out of behind the first place Capitals, 3 points behind the second place Flyers, but a very strong regular season. Then pandemic stops everything. Sets up 3 months later or 4 months later, once hockey comes back, a first or opening round, they called it, matchup with the Montreal Canadiens. On paper, they were a much better squad. They lose in 4 games in a best of 5. They lose 3-1 and deserved to lose. Wasn't a fluke, wasn't bad bounces, simply deserved to lose. So were changes made to the roster? No. Was the coach fired? No. Instead, they fire the assistant coaches, simply some of the most important guys in the history of the Penguins, in Mark Recchi, Sergei Gonchar, and to a much lesser extent, Jacques Martin. They fire those 3 guys and do nothing to fix this aging roster. So, yes, Crosby's incredible. Yes, Malkin can still play at a high level, but you have to help them. This defense is weak, easy to play against, and it's unclear if Tristan Jarry is capable of being a number 1 goaltender. The Flyers were the hottest team in the league before the pandemic shut down the NHL. 4 months go by, and they weren't able to continue that tear in the postseason. But Alain Vigneault has pressed all the right buttons. I think he's a great coach. The Flyers have a really nice mix of size and skill. Their forward group is arguably the most complete in the NHL. And then you add 2017 number 2 overall pick Nolan Patrick to an already strong group. Now, their defense isn't as well regarded. Ivan Provorov has made a big leap into a stud on the blue line. He's done that. Undrafted 23-year-old Philippe Myers has come a long way. He's got size. He can make the outlet pass. He's become a top 4 defenseman. Carter Hart is capable of being a top 5 goalie in the NHL. I think there is value on the Flyers, and I will pull the trigger on them for my first bet of the 2021 NHL season. Philadelphia Flyers -1 at +151. Let's go. Next up, 7 p.m. Eastern, the competing best rivalry in the NHL. The Montreal Canadiens at the Toronto Maple Leafs, Scotiabank Arena, Toronto, Ontario. Excuse me. This total opened up at 6, quickly moved to 6.5. And that's what gamblers do with Toronto Maple Leafs hockey. They bet the overs. I get it. The money line has opened at Leafs at -145, and that's gone down slightly. It's gone down 5 cents to -140. Let's talk about the Leafs, a very highly skilled group of underachievers. There's so much pressure on these guys to succeed, and they continue to wilt under that heat. Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, Johnny Tavares, Will Nylander, very talented players, capable of greatness, but never seem to roll together at the same time. Then you add Joe Thornton and Simmons to this group, and what will you get? Hopefully some more accountability, I guess. I mean, Johnny Tavares, you don't need to worry about his accountability, but maybe these guys can, with their veteran leadership, show the way. I don't know if they can even keep up. Right now you have Thornton playing on that first line. I don't know if he can keep up. Look, I get him on the power play unit, but that first line, their defense is weak. I'm a Morgan Rielly fan. But Morgan Rielly and TJ Brodie are rated as the 16th best number 1 defensive player in the NHL by Corsi numbers. And in all honesty, I think they're worse than that. The number 2 unit, Jake Muzzin and Justin Hall, are the 14th ranked second unit. And Travis Dermott and Zach Bogosian are the number 23rd third unit. All in all, this is a weak group. Frederik Andersen and Jack Campbell are a nice goaltending tandem, but they better get used to odd man rushes because that's what the players in front of them create. The Montreal Canadiens, I will be betting at -1 at +218. I'm getting +120 on the money line and +300 on the puck line. I don't think I've said this, I don't know, since the early 90s. The Montreal Canadiens are a very good hockey team. They had the best offseason of any team in the NHL. All of the issues I've had with the Habs over the years, and I would say it time and time again, was that they were so easy to play against. They were small. And sometimes I would undervalue speed because they always had a nice amount of speed from their forward group. But I would just hammer at them all year long, saying they're easy to play against. They're small. They changed that. They add Josh Anderson and Tyler Toffoli. Now I will no longer say this is an easy squad to play against. Both players are capable in the dirty areas. Now Toffoli's just 6'1", 200. But he loves the dirty areas. He's in front of the net. And at $4.25 million per, I don't know why the Canucks weren't able to re-sign him. Maybe because they signed Braden Holtby for no reason whatsoever. I love the signing of Tyler Toffoli. I love it. Then Josh Anderson, 6'3", 220-pounder, is huge. I mean, I absolutely love him, and his game fits this team to a T. Now, this first line, Thomas Tatar, Philip Deneau, and Brandon Gallagher was the line that I hammered at when they were first put together. I was like, is this really a number 1 line in the NHL? They have proven me absolutely wrong. They know where each other are. They're accountable defensively. They score offensively. Deneau can win faceoffs. This is a very good and very underrated first line. And they love playing together. And that's important. What it is their whole becomes much stronger than the sum of their parts. Their defense is stronger than it looks, and the Corsi numbers tell you that. Now, I don't know how much you believe in Corsi numbers, and I think, there's times when you can take them too far, but I think as a whole, they're very important for us to judge a player effectively. And the Corsi numbers tell you that this Habs defense is very good. Sherratt and Weber are number 11 for first-line pairing. So I get that, number 11. Edmonton and PITPHI are number 4. They're the number 4 ranked second unit. Kulak and Romanov are the number 5 ranked third defensive pairing. All in all, it's a good defense, an underrated defense that gets the job done, gets the outlet passes, and Weber, if he can stay healthy, and that's a big if and extremely important, really can provide leadership for this squad. Carey Price seems to be on the denouement of his career, 33 years old, but he knows this. If there was ever a chance for him to roll, this is the best team he's ever been on. You're going to give me a plus 218 -1 line? I will take it. Now, maybe you're sitting there saying, well, Bag, you're getting a plus line anyways. Why don't you just take it? And I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go for big scores. There's two things that have to happen in handicapping. One is you have to be smart. You have to be sharp and you have to succeed. That's the most important. Maybe. Because the other most important is you have to have fun. And look, I have a lot of fun going for these big scores. And if the Habs win by 1 and I push, that's fine. That's fine. And if I'm looking over my spreadsheet a few weeks in, 6 weeks in, and say, I'd be doing better if I just took them on my line, I'll switch. But right now, -1s for me, baby. That's Habs Leafs. Let's roll. 8 p.m. Eastern is next up. Blackhawks at Tampa Bay Lightning. Amalie Arena in Tampa Bay. And this is the lone game I won't be moving on. I'm not going to be betting totals early in the season. I really like to watch these teams. And I know from studying my spreadsheets that my ROI is not good on totals early in the season. Now, I'm going to stay off totals. I'm not sure how long. We'll see together as a group, but I'm going to stay off them. Tampa Bay opens up at -250. That becomes -240. This total opens up at 6.5 at -120, and it's still there, right there. All right, let's go. Last year's Stanley Cup champions come in as big favorites. The Lightning come in without Nikita Kucherov for at least the regular season. Now, Stamkos is healthy and ready to go. This team won the Stanley Cup without Stamkos. And that first line of Palat, Braden Point, Steven Stamkos are the number 4 ranked first line in the NHL from Corsi rankings. Palat does a lot of the dirty work. Braden Point is an exceptional center, a first-line center. He's got an enormous amount of skill, and he's underrated because he plays in Tampa. And then you have Stammer. So it's imperative that Anthony Cirelli takes the next step as a second-line center, and he's capable of doing it. It's imperative for their offense to roll. Now, having perennial Norris candidate Victor Hedman anchoring your defense is a luxury that very few teams will ever get, and they have it. So their defense is strong. 2019 Vezina winner Andrei Vasilevsky is between the pipes. It's a good hockey team. It goes without saying. Do I want them game 1 at this price? No. It doesn't matter who they're playing against. They're playing against an NHL hockey team, and I just don't want to start the year like that. Let's talk about the Blackhawks. The news that Johnny Taves has a medical issue. He's lethargic, tired. He doesn't know what's going on. It's devastating. It's devastating. It sucks for hockey fans. I love watching Johnny T play. But he is out. Then they lose Kirby Dach to the wrist injury. He's out 4 to 5 months. And Blackhawk fans are probably thankful that the season is only 56 games long. Is Malcolm Subban capable of being a number 1 goaltender? His Corsi rankings rank him as the 63rd best goalie in the NHL. It's a lot to ask for. He's a talented kid. Maybe he can do it. It's going to be a long year for the Blackhawks. Now, does that mean we take overs with the Chicago Blackhawks team? Probably. But again, I don't want to make that move before I see it and watch it and know that that's a play that we can make money off, and maybe we can be ahead of the curve, which I've seen a ton of Leafs fans hammer overs nonstop and get ahead of the market when I fell behind and I was waiting for it to stop and it never stopped. No move for me on Blackhawks Lightning. Now we move on to 10 p.m. Eastern. My Vancouver Canuckleheads on the road at the Oilers. Rogers Place, Edmonton, Alberta. Let's see what we're dealing with from an odds perspective. This total opened up at 5.5. It went to 6. I get it, but that 6 also, by the way, is heavily juiced. Now, that 5.5 was the over 5.5 was at -130, heavily juiced. But now this 6 is at -120. From a money line perspective, these Oilers opened up at -120 favorites. They're now -125 favorites. But that's not entirely true. They were -130 favorites 25 minutes ago when I bet them. So I do know that I'll grant you that this is the line right now. It's +105 for Vancouver, but I will be giving out the lines that I bet I bet plus 110, but I bet it on the -1 line. So I got plus 110 and plus 275 on the -1.5 line. Let's go. Rogers Place, Edmonton, Alberta. Beautiful downtown arena for an ugly downtown Edmonton. Actually, it's pretty in the summertime. It's dice game in the wintertime. This is the best Vancouver Canuck team since we lost in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals in 2011. And it's clear. It's clearly the best team that we've had. JT Miller does everything you could possibly ask of him. He is so much better than I ever imagined. And he loves playing with this group. He loves playing in this city. He is the complete package. Number 2 in the NHL at faceoffs, but we play him on the wing. We can move him to center anytime we need a big draw because we have Pettersson there. Pettersson is nowhere near the faceoff winner that JT Miller is. But when it comes to late in games, we have Horvat and JT Miller on the ice. If for some reason Horvat gets kicked out of the circle, the number 7 faceoff man in the entire league, then we have the number 2 JT Miller, or vice versa. And we also have Jay Beagle, the number 3 faceoff man in the NHL. Puck possession is so important in the National Hockey League. Elias Pettersson and Brock Besser are top-level snipers. Bo Horvat is the complete package. If you look at this team, we have it all. Now, we're big underdogs. I'm not talking about a team that's favored to do much. We're 7-1 to win our division. That's a bet I made. 28-1 to win the cup. I just don't think people are respecting the Vancouver Canucks, and I get it. Because they lose year after year after year after year after year. We have to take advantage of that. They have size and toughness in Beagle, Pearson, and Jake Virtanen. Virtanen finally had a good season. Kid has a big upside. He was a very high draft pick. Then we have the quarterback of our dreams for the power play, Quinn Hughes. If it wasn't for Cale Makar, he's the best young defenseman in the NHL. He's surrounded by a very strong group. He plays with Edler. You have Nate Schmidt, Travis Hamonic. Now, they've been using Hughes with Hamonic. I'm not sure what they're going to decide to do. Tyler Myers and Oli Uelevi are an excellent third unit. We got to see what Thatcher Demko was capable in the playoffs, and we shouldn't expect, obviously, that Herculean performance from him. But 0.64 goals against average, 985 save percentage. I mean, it was ludicrous. He's level-headed. I think he's capable of being a number 1. We have Braden Holtby backing him up, a signing that I didn't like. But at least Thatcher doesn't need to worry. The Oilers simply have no depth after McDavid and Draisaitl. They've done such a bad job filling out their roster. Then they don't have Oscar Klefbom to a shoulder injury. So what happens to this defense, which is pretty weak, is it's all up to Darnell Nurse. And I think he's capable of stepping up. But, man, I mean, the whole team, I mean, he's so important to this team's success. And I think he's capable of it. Can Darnell Nurse step up and be that number 1 defenseman that they hope for? Possibly. And he's tough. And he's fast. And he can make the outlet pass. Do you trust Koskinen and Smith? I don't. I'm taking the Canucks here. I'm getting -1 at plus 196, a plus 110 on the money line, and a plus 275 on the -1.5. We move on to the final game of opening night in the NHL, 10:30 p.m. St. Louis Blues, a Colorado Avalanche. And I'm going to back the Avalanche on opening night. And, you know, it's probably not the best spot to back them here with all the pressure that they're under. Favorite to win the Stanley Cup this year. But -140 is a fine price. So my -1 is a plus 123. You get the plus 195 on the puck line. I'm very comfortable with that. Colorado opened up at -140. They're still there. This total opened up at, and these are Bet365 openers, opened up with the over 5.5 at -120. It's now at -125. We're at Ball Arena in Denver, Colorado. Let's break this down. The Blues got knocked out of the playoffs early by the Vancouver Canucks in 6 games, but they are a good, deep hockey team. Even without Tarasenko, who's out for the season, this is a very dangerous group and a quality group. The first line of Braden Shen, Ryan O'Reilly, David Perron is the eye test. Tells you that this is a very formidable first line. The Corsi numbers tell you otherwise. They don't have very good Corsi numbers. But what I see is a very good, talented line. Second line center, Robert Thomas, needs to take that next step. He's got to prove he's a top six forward. He's got Hoffman on one side. He's got Jaden Schwartz on the other side. That's a pretty nice spot to be in. He was a first-round draft pick. Now it's time to see if Robert Thomas can step up. This Blues team needs him. Now it's going to be strange seeing them without Alex Pietrangelo, who's over in Vegas. It's going to be strange to see him without him. He's been such a big part of their team. Jay Bouwmeester retired. I don't think that hurts this Blues defense very much, but it's just those were two big, tall, smooth skating defensemen that will no longer be there. Now we add Torrey Krug, and I think that is going to help them. Certainly going to help their power play. And if you go back again to the Corsi ratings, Colton Parayko and Torrey Krug are the third best defensive pairing, I should say, in the entire NHL. This is a good Blues team. And I think that you're going to find value on them early in the year, unless they beat the Avalanche in game one. I think you're going to find value just because of the way they were knocked out by the Knuckleheads. So, all right, I think the Avalanche are the best team in the NHL. I said this on my Futures video. I don't want to say the exact same thing I said on there, so I'll change it. But for me, they have everything. Skill, size, leadership, grit, defense, goaltending. And just like the Canucks have this super weapon in Quinn Hughes, Cale Makar is unbelievable. He is spectacular. I mean, if Cale Makar wasn't there, Samuel Girard's a really good young defenseman. But when you see Cale Makar out there, you're like, well, I mean, this is the best young defenseman in the NHL. And Quinn Hughes would be the only one that you could debate with. Their first line, you got Nathan MacKinnon, Mikko Rantanen, and now they've moved Burakovsky on the left side. I love it. I love it. Now, I want to see it because I love the idea that Landeskog moves to the second line with Nazem Kadri and Brandon Saad, because that line has got so much toughness. I mean, it's your dream playoff line to send those guys out every second night against the opposition, the forechecking, the toughness, the dirty areas. This is a very good hockey team. And as I said in my Futures video, I think the Grubauer-Francouz goaltending tandem, Grubauer 29, Francouz at 30, they're both in their prime and they're capable of being elite goaltenders. I just think this team has it all. And I'm going to take them on night one on the -1 line at +123. Again, I really want to play situations when I handicap, but I don't think -140 is too much. And we know that this Blues team is going to have a completely different look without Pietrangelo and with Krug out there. Now, Colton Parayko has become a great, great defenseman. But, the Blues are undervalued. But I'm betting the Avalanche to win the Cup, and I'm going to bet them night one. There you have it. 4 bets for me, a 5-game opening slate. I'm on the Flyers -1 at +151. I'm on the Habs -1 at +218. I'm not betting Blackhawks Lightning. I'm on the Canucks -1 at +196. And I'm on the Avs -1 at +123. Let's go, baby. We're back. Hockey's back. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your support. The more views and the more support we get for the hockey show, the more I can do it and the more energy I can put into it. So it means the world that you're watching. Thank you guys so much. Let's have a giant season. Are you guys ready to rock? Are you fucking ready? I'm fucking ready.